Great. Well, thanks so much for being here. My name's Jean, and I'm a mindfulness facilitator. So I like to just share a little bit around the theme this week of embracing change, and then we'll do some breathing practice and a guided meditation. So, with embracing change, I was thinking of just the way that change is really always part of our experience. And one way of recognizing change is by exploring this second foundation of mindfulness, which is mindfulness of feeling. And often, when we say the word feeling, we mean our emotions and how we're feeling emotionally. But with this teaching, it's recognizing that really everything that comes into our experience has a feeling tone. And one way of describing that is by saying that it has the feeling tone of being pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. And so knowing that we're always kind of in this dance between pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. And it's interesting just to notice our habituation around this, because obviously we tend to want to cling on to things that are pleasant and we push away what is unpleasant and we ignore what's neutral. So knowing that when we open our experience up to things that are neutral, then we really have a lot more opportunity, a larger perspective. And also knowing that when we're not as fixated on this pendulum, then we're really more free. And we can recognize that in ourselves. We can recognize that, I'm sure, in the people that we know, that you can see when there's a real tightness around things having to be a certain way. And I was just going to share a story from my morning, the other morning, of getting my husband out the door into the train and dropping him off at the train. And we had a great morning, and we were just dancing and laughing and having a fun morning together. And I made his coffee for him to take with him. And then I see him walking to the car with his backpack, and the backpack is leaking all of the coffee out. I'm like, oh no, your backpack is leaking. So then it's this rush and this scramble to make it to the train on time, to get everything out of the backpack into the other bag, and making it by the skin of his teeth. And then I showed up to teach meditation online and was also making that by the skin of my teeth. And I wanted to talk about this pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. And it just struck me as kind of funny that we're like really always in this dance, but how a situation like that could be something that could, potentially ruin my day, ruin his day, ruin the relationship, like on and on. Like the more that we're really clinging to these experiences that are really just natural changes that we notice throughout our days. So on your own, you might like to reflect on the pleasant experiences as you encounter them throughout the day, and if there's a sense of clinging on or grasping, and likewise recognizing things that are unpleasant, and if this really takes over and causes a lot of stress, and it's something that you can just be curious about really throughout your day. So for the practice, we'll start with some breathing, which is also a great way of recognizing change and just the way that the breath is always changing and that we're always in this constant flow of change. And by tuning into the breath, this is a really simple way that we can start to embrace change in our lives. So I'll just invite you to find a comfortable position. And if you like, you can keep the eyes open, perhaps with a soft downcast gaze. You can also close the eyes, so whatever's most comfortable. And I'll just invite you to practice with diaphragmatic breathing. So if you're seated, or you could also be lying down, just placing a hand on the belly and a hand on the heart over the chest. And just taking some moments to breathe and just noticing naturally how the belly and the chest rise and whatever movement you feel in those areas. And then just consciously beginning to fill up the belly with the breath. And letting it go. So the hands are on the belly and the chest, and just allowing the breath to fill up the belly area, and noticing that expansion in the belly on the in breath, and letting go. And then beginning to fill the breath from the belly to the chest. And letting go on the exhale. Breathing in, sensing the expansion in the belly and the chest. And letting go on the exhale. Just continuing with this deep diaphragmatic breathing for some moments. And seeing if you can really be present for this experience of breathing. Noticing the physical experience of breathing and the changes that are part of the inhale, the exhale, the way the belly and the chest fill up when we bring our intention to these areas. Noticing the movement of the hands as the belly and the chest expand. And by being really intentional about our breath, we can activate the parasympathetic nervous system, this rest, digest, and heal state, and step out of the stress response of fight, flight, freeze. And allowing this next round to be your last. Allowing the breathing to return to normal. No need to change the breath. And letting the hands relax, finding a comfortable place on the thighs. And if you feel that you need a sense of grounding and calm, I suggest that you have the palms face down. And if you're feeling like you'd like more energy and inspiration, then I suggest having the palms face up. So you can always explore with what feels most resonant for you in whatever moment and whatever practice. And just noticing how you feel, noticing any changes, sensations, thoughts floating through from that practice. And again, that's a diaphragmatic breathing practice. So, really taking deep inhales, filling up the belly and the chest, and then just letting it go on the exhale. And from here, we'll move into a guided meditation practice, and we'll be exploring this mindfulness of feeling tone by exploring pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral sensations in the body. So just finding your comfortable position again. And these meditations can always be practiced seated, lying down, standing. So whatever's most comfortable for you. And again, if you like having the eyes open, I suggest having a soft, downcast gaze, limiting the visual input. Or you can also close the eyes, whatever's most comfortable. And as you're ready, beginning to tune into any tactile physical sensations all along the surfaces of the skin from head to toe. So noticing the contact points between the seat and the support that you're on, the feet, the hands, the weight and texture of clothing and material, the air temperature. Maybe there's movement of air around you. And the passage of air through nostrils, parted lips. And with a gentle curiosity, tuning in all along the surfaces of the skin from head to toe. And inviting in some curiosity around any feeling tones that arise. You might notice if anything is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral as you tune into any sensations along the surfaces of the skin. And as you're ready, beginning to sense deeper into anything you may feel internally, opening to interoceptive awareness, internal perceptions. This very natural awareness that lets us know when to use the restroom, when we're hungry. But knowing that the entire body is sensory all the way down to and including the bones. So noticing any sensations, maybe digestion, pulsing, tingling, tightness, tension. numbness, aliveness. Maybe finding the heartbeat. Maybe not. And throughout the practice, you might find the mind wandering, thoughts or distractions arising. Really knowing that that's not a problem, it's part of the practice. And as thoughts arise, as they inevitably will, just gently noticing that quality of distracted mind and celebrating that moment of mindfulness, that moment of awareness, and then gently coming back to the body and the sensations, this river of sensation all along the surfaces of the skin from head to toe, as well as anything internally. And noticing any feeling tones of pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral as you explore this landscape of sensation. And I'll invite you to explore unpleasant sensation. So, this could be very subtle. It might be an itch that you would otherwise scratch, but just taking some time to notice it, notice how it comes into the awareness, how it changes, transforms, how it perhaps eventually dissolves. You might be dealing with more intense, unpleasant sensation. So, your choice, it's possible to lean into unpleasant sensation, let it do its dance, let it get as big as it wants, noticing how it feels. You can also tune into the area around it. And if for any reason it feels overwhelming or not supportive to check out unpleasant sensation, you can always just skip over that area. You can come to something that is pleasant or neutral. You can always open the eyes and reorient to the space around you. You can tune into something outside of yourself, like sounds. So, really working with this in a way that is flexible and supports where you're at. And taking some time just to offer your openness and curiosity to the body and this experience of unpleasant sensation. And breathing in and out, and letting that go. And opening now to pleasant sensation. So similarly, scanning the body and finding pleasant sensation. And really leaning in, noticing how that feels, how it arises and comes into the awareness. Noticing any changes, any transformation. Noticing how it maybe dissolves. Letting it get as big as it wants. Allowing it to do its dance. And what is the experience of pleasant sensation in the body in this moment? And taking a conscious breath in and out. Tuning into the breath. And scanning the body for a neutral sensation. And we tend to want to ignore neutral. It's something that might seem invisible to us. So, what is it like to scan the body and pay attention to neutral sensations? Something that you don't so much like or dislike. And perhaps in paying attention, our way of orienting to the sensation changes. And maybe once we pay attention to it, we do have an opinion about it. But just inviting this curiosity towards neutral sensation and noticing what it feels like to pay attention to neutral sensation. And taking a breath in and out. And just resting with the breath, noticing the nourishing quality of the breath. And just reflecting on this period of practice and this theme of embracing change. Any insights around changes that you're experiencing, any insights around knowing that change is a constant in our experience. And one way of recognizing that is by tuning into these feeling tones that are present in all of our experiences of pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. And taking some time just resting with the breath. And while you're resting, I'll read a passage. This is from Loving Kindness by Sharon Salzberg. We know better than to try to prevent the seasons from changing or the tide from coming in. Following autumn, winter comes. We may not prefer it, but we trust it because we understand and accept its rightful place in a larger cycle, a bigger picture. Can we apply the same wise balance to the cycles and tides of pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral experiences in our lives? A Chinese poem expresses the essence of this trust and understanding. 10,000 flowers in spring, the moon in autumn, a cool breeze in summer, snow in winter. If your mind is not clouded by unnecessary things, this is the best season of your life. To see things as they are, to see the changing nature, to see the impermanence, to see that constant flow of pleasant and painful events outside our control. That is freedom. And closing this practice, perhaps deepening the inhale, and lengthening the exhale, and sensing the body's weight and the gravity and the connection to the earth. The sense of being rooted to the earth, held and supported by the earth. And taking a moment to offer yourself acknowledgement for being here and for taking this time, for working with the inevitability of change in your life. And just taking in the goodness of that. And allow it to be a source of joy for you. And whenever you're ready, gently opening the eyes, lifting the gaze, and taking in the space around you. And inviting this sense of presence with you into the next moment of your day.